part. So we have Damesha Wells here. She is a former higher education leader who left her job after receiving instruction from the Lord. She's now a thriving full-time entrepreneur and content creator who is working with top brands and organizations that she is really impacted by. So we are excited to have her on here. So to kick it off, Damesha, do you mind just expressing to us your faith journey and what exactly that looked like for you?
Yeah, so um just to kind of give a little bit of context, I got saved in October of 2017. So did not necessarily like grow up in the church. My family would go kind of here and there and, special occasions, but through a series of events, which I'll kind of skip over for sake of time, but through a series of events, I ended up getting saved October of 2017. And so from there, it really was like an immediate faith journey that started. I got saved. I was living in Indianapolis, Indiana at that time. And within just a few months, I felt the Lord telling me that I was going to go to graduate school, which was not necessarily in my plans. So soon after graduating, I graduated from undergrad in May of 2017. And so it was not necessarily something in my cards, but again, it was obviously, planned by the Lord. And so I, submitted a few applications for graduate school at that time, and then got accepted to Westchester University in Pennsylvania, which was like a 10-hour drive from where I was at that time. Again, completely faith. And so at that point, again, that's 2017. I was like really getting like just thrusted into living out a faith journey, right? Like walking this thing out. And so that was the first one. Again, I had a big one when I felt the Lord calling me to go to Columbus, Ohio. That I really struggle with because it was, fresh in having my master's at that point. And then, it was like, where are the jobs? Like, why are the jobs not
Yeah.
coming to find me? Like, what is going on? And it took almost 2 years for me to land a position in Columbus, Ohio. And so that was another one. Here now, more recently, I guess the most recent faith walk that I'm in has been leaving my job. So again, I was an academic advisor at Ohio State, and that was for almost 4 years. It would have been 4 years in November, excuse me, of 2025. And so I had a dream one day. Again, let me go back. I knew that I was not going to be in that position forever. I knew that wasn't a forever thing. The Lord had been very clear with me on some of the other things that he wanted me to do as far as just, ministry and other things life wise. And so I knew that wasn't a forever thing. And slowly but surely, he started to reveal certain things to me at a certain time. But came May of 2025, I had a dream, and clear as day in the dream, it was the calendar of the month of May on a calendar. And the last 2 weeks were like grayed out, right? Like X's on them and like grayed out. And in the dream, I said to myself, I'm going to have to put my 2 weeks in now so I can be done by the end of the month. And again, as someone who has walked this thing out with the Lord, I know when he speaks, I know when it's clear, I know when I got to move. And to me, I mean, there was no debating that kind of dream. I too am like a prophetic dreamer. And so that, again, I'm not necessarily, new to how the Lord can speak in that way. And so, yeah, I did just that. I woke up from that dream. I looked at my calendar on my phone, and I would have had to put my 2 weeks in. Like that was maybe a Wednesday. I would have had to do it by that Friday in order to fall in line with the 2 weeks. So that's what I did. I didn't have too much time to consult this person and that person and this and that. Like I had to just move. And so again, that was a Wednesday. That Thursday, I remember I drafted up that letter. Friday, I had the conversation with my boss, submitted that resignation, and within the 2 weeks after that, my lease was up anyways, like that, the end of May. And so I was fine there, but I had to sell all my stuff. I figured that, okay, I'll put my stuff in storage, no big deal, because I'll be back, right? Like,
Yeah.
I know wherever the Lord is taking me, whatever he's doing, like, I'll be back, no big deal.
Mhm.
And he said, no, like, I need you to sell everything as well. So, again, I want to really paint the picture here. I'm being told in a dream that I have to quit my job. I have essentially 2 days to do that, right? To be obedient, submit that letter. I
Yeah.
then have 2 weeks to sell all my stuff. And genuinely, it wasn't actually super clear where I was going either, right? So a
Wow.
lot of moving pieces for me at that time. Um, but I remember continuously seeking the Lord, right? Like I'm
Mhm.
like, God, I know because I've been here before that
Yeah.
you are leading me, that you are guiding me. So like do whatever you want to do. And so that following week after I submitted the resignation, I went through again just like the technical logistical things with my job, trying to figure out, okay, what this transition is going to look like for the other people on my team. And then again, know that that first week of the 2 weeks I didn't have any insight on where I was going, right? Didn't
Wow.
know nothing. And it wasn't until that second week, right, leading into me having to leave, where I felt the Lord saying like, okay, let's sell your stuff, let's get everything sold, put everything on Facebook Marketplace, all of that. And within the week, everything was gone. All my furniture, all of my, my bedding, everything, literally everything was gone. And I felt the Lord telling me that I was going to come back home. So home for me is in Indiana, but it has been eye-opening, I think, just to say, like very interesting how the Lord did that, like everything from that time period, just to bring me, back home. And that was a tough transition, right? Like that was a very tough transition because I turned 30 in October, right? And so I'm like, I'm coming up on 30 here, and like I figured, okay, we're gonna have house and kids and husband and like all this stuff. Like, why in the world does it feel like I'm going backwards by going back home to live with my mother and my sister? And so I wrestled, right? I cried about it and I wrestled and I kicked and I screamed, but I knew that this was God's plan, And so the last year I've been here, over a year now, to be a year officially that I've been back home in May. And it's been a ride, it's been a ride. You talk about just, again, it takes faith. One thing I want to make clear is that it takes faith for a person to make the move, but it also takes faith to stay in the journey, right? Like to stay consistent and
Wow.
stay on the path. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I think we talk so much about, oh, so and so made this big jump and this big leap of faith
Hmm.
and they did it and they moved and they got this job and they all these things, but like it takes real faith to
Yeah.
stay in the journey, to stay on that course. And so that's where I found myself now. I've had to stay the course. I've had to keep my eyes on Jesus and really, really lock into the greater things, right? There are things that
Hmm.
he's already shown me. Scripture says he declares the end from the beginning, right? And so
Yeah.
I've had to really keep my eyes on those things, because if not, you start to waver, right? You start
Yeah.
to waver, you start to question, your faith starts to fail you.
Yeah.
And so yeah, that's where I'm at now, living.
Wow. No, this is so good. I'm grateful that like you're vulnerable enough to share that it's hasn't been perfect.
Hmm.
That though like there have been some amazing things he's done along the way, from like all of your stuff being sold in a matter of a week, of you putting in a 2 week notice, and then for him to bring you back home and all of that. You're also saying like, hey, this is also hard. There have also been some difficult moments, some things that I haven't um, deemed favorable within the time period. But what do you say to people who are feeling that pull or feeling that tug, to do the big thing, to do the big jump, and they are just unsure about what it will require of them?
Yeah, the biggest thing is you have to do it. Like there's
Yeah.
no question about if you can do it or if you should
Hmm.
do it. You have to do it, right?
Hmm.
Like it's and again, that's not to necessarily be insensitive. You're talking
Yeah.
to someone who has done it and had to do it multiple times over just the last 7 years or so, whatever. Like it's been a wild journey, but I think that we have to remember, one, God is sovereign, right? And he's
Yep.
Lord, and so in him being Lord, he has amazing things planned for us. Isaiah 55:8 and 9, we say it all the time. His ways are not our ways. And so there's a way to the Lord that we don't understand, right? There's a way to his methodology that we do not understand. And when we get outside of ourselves, right, release our pride and our wisdom, right, what we think is best,
Hmm.
when we get outside of that and really remove ourselves from that, I think we start to see the hand of the Lord in a lot of things that we do not understand, right?
Hmm. Yeah.
And so to that person, it's you got to do it. You have to
Yeah.
do it and like get out of your own way. It's not always going to be comfortable. It's not always going to be joyous, right? Like
Hmm.
it's not always going to be fun. But I think that again, knowing how the Lord operates, there's always going to be a reward included in your
Hmm.
obedience. Your obedience is, as scripture says, obedience is better than sacrifice, right? So recognizing that, like, yeah, you're having, for me, I had to sell all my stuff that I worked hard for, right? Stuff
Yeah.
that I didn't want to let go of,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
it's not about the stuff per se, but it's just the whole principle of the whole thing that, like, wait, I cannot hold on to anything, and so recognizing again, God is not asking you to do something to harm you. It's only for your good and his glory.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. What do you think you've learned the most in this past year since making that transition, just about yourself and also about God that maybe you didn't know prior?
Yeah. The biggest thing, this is very vulnerable and transparent here. The biggest thing that I've learned about myself is that I am spoiled by
Mm.
God. I have been very spoiled by God. Um, I don't want to cry on here. I did my makeup. I got all nice and fresh for y'all.
Oh.
I don't want to cry. Um, when I first got here again, I moved here May of 2025. I did not have a job, right? Like
Hmm.
no job, of course. But I knew that the Lord was ushering me into full-time entrepreneurship, content creation, all of that. I just didn't really
Yeah.
know what that looked like. Move here again, May 2025. By August, I felt the Lord saying, like, okay, now's the time to start this Christian coaching business, right? That
Mm.
was something too in this full-time entrepreneurship thing. I'm like, okay, cool. There was no real movement with that, right? With the Christian
Mhm.
coaching business. And so I'm like, God, like, what is going on? Like, why would you have me start this and then like nothing really come from it? Like
Yeah.
what? And by October, that was put on the back burner. That business was put on the back burner. And so you have me in this time where it's like, Lord, I want to work for you. Like, I
Yeah.
want to work. I want to own. Because again, in this time of moving, I still have my bills, my car note, car insurance, like all these different things that I'm having to pay on and
Hmm.
no money, right? Like, again, I
Yeah.
had a little bit saved up, but like nothing extensive that's going to last for 4, 5, 6 months, on end.
Hmm.
And so I'm having to rely on my mom, on my grandmother, like family that really, again, it's the pride, right? That
Yeah.
I don't want to ask for this. Like,
Hmm.
I'm
Hmm.
willing to work. Why won't you let me work? Like
Right.
I'm willing to put the work in, do these certain things. But I recognize that again, being spoiled by God, I really threw a lot of fits. I'll be honest. I threw a lot of fits, a lot of hissy fits, a lot of tantrums. God, this is not fair. God, I don't deserve this. God, I don't. And it was like I had my eye on what I wanted this time to look like. But again, it's like when you have your needs taken care of by God, it's like, okay, I'm taken care of, but I really want it to look a different kind of way. And again, I think that that's where you always get in your way kind of thing. Like I have a little sister, and oftentimes we say she's 12, she'll be 13 in May. And oftentimes we say you're a spoiled brat, right? Because you constantly get your way. So when it's no, you're like, "Oh my gosh, what in the world?" And I didn't recognize that until this time, that I have been taken care of by God. I have been spoiled, right? As some may say, I've been spoiled by God. And now in this, he's telling me no, or not yet, or he has a different way of going about it. And I'm throwing a fit. I'm throwing a fit. And I had to really sit with that. I had many conversations with friends, family, and really had to sit with the notion that, Demisha, your needs are taken care of during this time. Like you're actually living in abundance. Like you're living in a nice home. You don't have to pay any rent. You don't have to pay any bills here. You don't have to, like, and you're with family. You're surrounded by love. Like you are living better than a lot of people. But because of all these things that
Wow.
didn't go my way,
Wow.
you know what I mean? Didn't
Yeah.
go my
Yeah.
way. It was like, oh my God, like it was just tantrum, right?
Hmm.
Tantrum, falling out. And again, I think the kindness of the Lord, the grace of the Lord allowed me to go through that, to go through feeling those things,
Yeah.
because it was just like, I have to. I have
Hmm.
to in order to get on the other side of this. And again, to be honest, this is not necessarily something that I'm like, oh, completely, healed, set free from. Like, I
Yeah.
think it is in our human nature to want our needs to be taken care of. Oftentimes, what I said during that time was, in my defense, I was like, we overcomplicate it. Like sometimes the need just needs to be met. Sometimes the person who's asking for money just needs money. Like,
Hmm.
what's the question here? Why are we so confused? And again, even in that, it's like, you think you're in control here. Like you think you're in control. You think you know how this should go, how
Wow.
this should be, how this thing should be resolved. And again, I think I said the grace and the mercy of the Lord allowed for me to go through that. But again, it is a human thing. It's a flesh thing, right? It's a
Mhm.
flesh thing that we have to deny this desire, this need for us to be in control, to
Yeah.
have every single need be met in the way in which we think it should be met. You know
Mhm.
what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, I learned a lot during that time, and I'm still learning. I'm
Yeah.
still learning, because it is a journey. This salvation thing, again, going to that scripture, I forget exactly where it is, but it's like walking out your salvation, right?
Yeah.
And it's one of those things where it's a process where we don't arrive. We do not arrive to a certain point. We will forever be walking this thing out and being an example, right, of scripture, and the relationship obviously with the Lord is a continued testament of that. So,
So I just love what you're saying.
yeah.
So as far as content creation and entrepreneurship, was that always a dream for you, or did you find that God was just leading you and you were just taking steps of obedience?
Yeah, I feel like with entrepreneurship and specifically content creation was not necessarily a dream per
Okay.
se. I do think that it was something where the Lord was like, "This is the way that I'm taking you,"
Hmm.
and it honestly, I would say this probably got revealed. We're in 2026, maybe like I don't know, 2021-ish, right?
Okay.
Where it was starting to like things were starting to be
Yeah.
revealed of like, okay, this job that you're actually going into is not going to be long term. This is
Hmm.
actually what I have for you. This is how we're going to prepare for, things like
Yeah.
that. And so no, it wasn't necessarily always the end goal, but again, it's so beautiful to see again how the Lord gives us things that we don't even know that we want because it's such a
Mhm.
joy. I
Yeah.
love content creation. I love the freedom, the flexibility, the ability to work with brands. Someone asked on my stories the other day, like, what's your favorite part about being a Christian content creator? And I think the fact genuinely is just like, I get to do this. I said that, like,
Okay.
I get to do this. I get to show up in this way. I get to be creative in this way. I
Mhm.
get to work with brands that, like, I'd never even thought, like, me working with, I'll spare the names, but like some of these brands, I'm just like, what do you mean? Like
Yeah.
what? And I'm only a year in. Like
Wow.
this doesn't. And so seeing even
Mm.
the faithfulness of God in
Yeah.
that. But again, I want to be clear, it took me selling everything to get here. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? Like it takes the sacrifice, it takes the obedience, it takes releasing, it takes the pain, right? Just be
Yeah.
honest. It takes the pain for you to see the reward. If I had not done all those things, I cannot say with full certainty that I would be here, that I
Hmm.
would be living in the freedom and the flexibility that I have, or just in the joy of getting to do something that I really love, And so
Yeah.
that has been, I think, the favorite part for it, for me. But again, it was not necessarily something that I sought after. It was
Hmm.
something that the Lord definitely was like, and this is the way we're gonna go now.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I feel like the common thread that I'm hearing throughout this conversation is that there is always provision for every
Mhm.
place that God leads you.
Mhm.
And just hearing you say that content creation was not the dream, but God provided
Yeah.
that idea or even that desire,
Mhm.
so that you could step into like a new level or new stream
Yeah.
of income is really encouraging for people who feel like when they obey, they won't
Mhm.
be taken care of.
Yeah.
Or if they make the move, if they make the jump, they don't know what's going to happen next. So that
Yeah.
is so great. I love that. Do you
Yeah.
find that you've had challenges even in accepting that this is the route or that content creation is the thing? Or do you feel that you've come to terms with like this is the way that God is taking me and this is what we're doing?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, in the very beginning, again, I've been doing this now for a little over a year. I started February of last year. And so, in the very beginning, I dealt with the inadequacy, right? Feeling insufficient, feeling like the whole imposter syndrome thing. Like, I know, God, that you have called me to this, but I do
Mm-hmm.
not feel like this is the route for me.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and again, being very transparent, it was I don't feel pretty enough. I don't feel like I have enough money even to do
Mm-hmm.
this, right? Because there's this assumption that excuse me, you have to buy products, right? Or buy, buy your way in kind of.
Yeah.
Um, and I was like, God, I can't, like, I don't have that. I can't do that. Like, I don't really know how you thought this was going to work, but like, I felt very inadequate in the beginning. But one philosophy that I operate off of is that when the Lord calls you to a thing, right, it's an assignment from Him. And
Mm-hmm.
like school or like any other task that we have, you can't
Yeah.
just get out of it. You can't just say, oh, I don't really feel like doing this. Like,
Yeah.
again, the Lord, when He calls you, He gives you the grace for your assignment, right? He gives you the strength and the wisdom and the strategy to be able to execute what it is that He's called you to. And so I knew, with this being a thing that the Lord had called me to, an assignment that He gave me, I had to stay the course, right? I
Mm-hmm.
had to stay the course regardless of what I felt about it. I had to continue on. And so that was definitely something that I struggled with in the beginning. I think now it's just continuing to stay the course again, but in staying the course, having the faith. Remember, I said, like, when it comes to having faith to make the leap, but also faith to stay in the journey, right? Like, stay
Yeah.
on the path.
Yeah.
That's something too that I'm recognizing and kind of wrestling with. And I think genuinely it just comes from a financial standpoint
Mm-hmm.
of, again, my needs are taken care of. I have more than enough, but there are girls, or people in general, I guess, that are making four-figure, five-figure, amounts from certain brand deals. And I haven't seen that yet. And so it's
Mm-hmm.
just, again, locking in with the Lord and saying, okay, Lord, I don't want to do this my way, right? Like, I want to do this in your way, because I know whatever it is that you want me to do, there's sustainability there, right? There's
Mm-hmm.
there's security there. Because again, you have people that are pitching, right? Where they're, actually reaching out to the brand, or they're just doing all these different measures. I don't even want to
Yeah.
say like extreme measures, just different, right? Different methodologies or different ways to do things. And I'm like, is that what you want me to do? Is that what you want me to do? Like, how do you want me to go about it? So that, I think, again, not necessarily a challenge per se, but it is a part of the game for someone as a Christian, where it comes to, this is not like, let me just do whatever and see what sticks. Like, I want to be very intentional about how I'm going about this, because I know ultimately it's not me landing these deals, it's God who has opened the door, right? And so
Mm-hmm.
I want to make sure that I have all of the tools in order to execute in the way that's pleasing to Him.
What would you say to someone who is taking the scenic route? So, like I'd say in our generation
Mhm.
that there is a almost desire to get things quickly, to move up a ladder at a quick pace, a fast pace.
Yeah.
But what do you say to people who are in the scenic route? Because
Mhm.
it sounds like you're in a scenic route where like he's taking you the long way to, and in other cases it's taking people what 2 months, 3 weeks, whatever the duration of time is. But
Yeah.
what would you say to people who are taking that scenic route, but there may be discouragement or upset with that?
Yeah, I love that you called it the scenic route. That is something that I have identified with content creation in particular, but also a little like side note, because it has nothing to do with this, but also like in my health journey,
Mm-hmm.
when it came to like weight loss, or just, getting back on track health wise. Again, you see people that are like losing weight within a month, or, 2 months, 3 months, whatever. And that wasn't the case for me. And I'm like, God, what is it? Like, what is going on?
Mm-hmm.
And I felt like then, in that moment, when it came to the health journey, that he was enlightening me and opening my eyes to the fact that I am so focused on what's coming, right? I'm
Yeah.
so focused on what's ahead, what is the end goal, that I am being robbed of the beauty that is right in front of me,
Mm-hmm.
the answered prayer that is right in front of me,
Yeah.
right? That's the first thing. The other thing that he showed me through that is that, when it comes to taking the scenic route, you are laying a foundation, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, like any type of building process, laying that foundation is so important to the health of the rest of the house, right? If we're looking at it really specifically, the health and the strength of the rest of the house. And so, for my weight loss journey, or just health journey in general, it wasn't so much about losing weight, right? It was about, but I'm going to be very specific, because I think that this could be helpful for someone. It wasn't so much about losing weight or being healthy per se. It was about making me well from top to bottom to bear children. Right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
very specific, because it wasn't just, oh,
Wow.
I want to lose the weight. God had something else in mind.
Mm.
Right? And so, again, he takes us on these
Wow.
journeys the scenic route. Yeah, he takes us on the scenic route. It's not just about the immediate thing that we want, and it's not about the immediate thing that we can see in front of us. There's
Hmm.
something light years ahead that God is more focused on. And
Yeah.
again, I think we think so small minded, so simple minded, so small when it comes to certain things. Again, I think that when it comes, hear this example all the time when it comes to Hannah, right? Hannah wanted a son. Okay, cool. But God has so much more in store for her and for the son that was, of course, gonna come, right? Like it's just that was God's plan. But there was so much more that He had planned for that specific son. And so, again, I think for the person that's taking the scenic route that's in there, recognize God is not lack concerning you, right? If He wanted to do it right now, today, He would. He has the capacity to, the capability to do that. He could. There's a reason, though, why He's not.
Hmm.
Tap into what that reason is, right? And that I
Yeah.
think gives just clarity to the journey, right? When I recognized, okay, I'm not losing weight super fast here. What's going on? Okay, God is actually trying to make me healthy. Because again, I think, and we see this, I was just telling someone about this yesterday. This is so crazy. The children of Israel, right? They wanted to take the shortcut. They wanted to get there quickly. Well,
Yeah.
on this shortcut, there's all these things that could take place. So God
Hmm.
is like, nope, we're going to take the long route. If I were in a weight loss journey and I lost weight 10 pounds in a month, right? Crazy, right? Lost 10 pounds in a month. Who's to say that weight wouldn't come back? Or who's to say then that I would start to rely on unhealthy mechanisms to
Hmm.
lose the weight, which are not sustainable moving forward, right?
Yeah.
Again, I think, and I'm making this about the health thing, but this I think obviously relates to so many different things. But it's like we get so focused on the immediate thing, the thing that's right in front of us, that we lose sight of the bigger thing, right? I wanted to
Hmm.
just lose the weight. And God was like, I want to make you a house of miracles for your children. I
Hmm.
want to make you so healthy and really revamp and restructure your entire body because I'm
Yeah.
30 now. Like I'm 30 and like my body is not the same. Like I eat. I
Yeah.
eat and I like food and like
Hmm.
working out is hard when you have this going on and that and like
Hmm.
the vitamins and supplements and like all these different things. I'm like, okay, but I just want to lose weight. And he's like, it's not just about that. It's not
Yeah.
just about that. So again, taking the scenic route, it's hard. It's
Wow.
painful, but there's beauty in front of you when you just look around and see, like, oh my gosh, wow, God answered that prayer here. It didn't look like what I thought, but like He is moving. And again,
Hmm.
too, recognizing that you're walking that scenic route with Him. That's something that I had to remind myself of just the other day. Like, I am walking this thing out, and it's hard and it's painful, and you want to get to the end of the road, but I'm walking this out with my best friend, like
Hmm.
Jesus, and like we get to just do this and do that, and there's beauty here and life here and this and that. Like
Yeah.
it's a beautiful thing. And
Yeah.
again, I do not want to paint this picture that we feel that all the time because we don't,
Hmm.
right? I still cry about God, I just want God, I'm so ready, please,
Yeah.
please, please. That's
Yeah.
the reality. We are children to the Lord. We're gonna cry to our Father about it. Like we get that.
Hmm.
But I do think that it is imperative that we really do look at the beauty that is around us, the beauty in the scenic route, and recognizing that there's something more that the Lord is doing than just what we can see in front of us.
I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
Awesome. What are your thoughts on generational wealth and how you believe the Lord is setting you up, or even for someone who is stepping out on faith, stepping out in obedience, is
Yeah.
also being set up for generational wealth, so that what you're doing now isn't just for you, but it's also preparation for your children or for future generations.
Yeah, I love that. Oh man, this is the generational wealth is a promise from the Lord, right? That is a very specific promise from the Lord for me and my family. And that is my fuel some days, right? Like that is my fuel that keeps me going, that keeps me motivated. Because I did not grow up with a ton, right? Like I
Mhm.
didn't grow up with, all these things and
Yeah.
whatever. The basic needs were taken care of here and there, splurged, but like not living in excess really. And so again, recognizing too that the Lord is such a good father. He's such a good father.
Mhm.
And recognizing that, because too, I feel led to say this for the people that are struggling right now financially, more than likely, I can't say for sure, but more than likely you are called to wealth. You are called to
Mhm.
generational wealth and, living in an abundant life. Again, that's not necessarily for everybody. But I do think that where we often struggle, the Lord plans to get the most glory out of our life. And so I think that when it comes to this, I had to wrap my mind around that concept, because again, I'm in the moment now, right? I'm in the moment now and I'm
Yeah.
struggling and I'm trying to figure this out. And I'm like, what is going on? Like, I've been sowing, I've been tithing, I've been giving, that, like, why am I not seeing it? But there's a process, like most things,
Mhm.
there's a process to
Mhm.
it. And so I think that generational wealth, I don't want to necessarily get hung up on the fact that like it should be the desire for everyone per se, but I do think that when we release all things unto the Lord, right, even our finances, I do believe the Lord blesses that, right? And so I
Mhm.
think for a lot of people, that's where you see like that generational wealth come in. But I've been very prayerful too, and I would encourage anyone else to be just very prayerful about how we are to steward that and like what that is to look like.
Mhm.
I have very specific promises from the Lord on like what that is going to look like, where
Yeah.
the money is going to go, what's going to be built here, what project is here, what. And
Mhm.
so getting that revelation now, right? So again, this is what I'm working towards, right?
Yeah.
I know, like you said, it's generational for me. It's not just for my children, it's for their children and like it's going to be a generational thing. And so having that promise from the Lord and being able to tap into his strategy, his wisdom for how to get there, I think makes that process easier, because the truth of the matter is, like anything, our flesh gets a hold of us. The enemy doesn't want us to get there, right? And we start to think, okay, I'm not going to make it. I'm not going to see that. I'm not going to make it. This is too hard. This is too painful. Or you have people telling you those things, right? And so I've had to really, again, get away from that, get with the Lord, seek his face for the promise, and then just walk in his strategy, and be obedient to, whatever that looks like. I hope that
Mhm.
answered your question. I feel
No,
like I was
you
talking
did.
twice.
You
Okay.
answered it for sure. For sure.
Okay.
What do you believe is possible for someone who obeys the Lord?
Anything.
Mhm.
Anything is possible.
Mhm.
Anything is possible. And even now I'm just like, it's like I'm saying that, answering your question, but it was almost like I got hit with the revelation and like the truth
Yeah.
of that. Like genuinely anything is possible for those that believe and obey. I think we are paralyzed though naturally
Mhm.
by fear, right? Like
Mhm.
fear keeps us bound in so many instances. And my prayers for myself, for my family, for people that are connected to us, for complete strangers, that we really detach ourselves completely from fear, right? Like that
Mhm.
we completely detach ourselves from fear, because that's what's holding a lot of us back, from
Mhm.
being obedient and from really seeing the things that God wants for us, and again, too, it is. I think even saying this, I think it's kind of scary to recognize like anything is possible for those that are obedient, for those that believe, and then recognizing the weight of like, well, what does that entail? Like what
Yeah.
exactly then is going to happen? What am I going to go through? You know what I mean? Like even that fear.
Wow.
And for that person, I think who's dealing with that, recognize again, we've said it this whole time, you are with the Lord. The
Yeah.
Lord, you're not out here by yourself trying to figure it out. The Lord God himself is leading you. He's
Mhm.
guiding you. He has you by the hand. He's not going to leave you. He's not going to forsake you. He's not going to have you out here looking stupid, crazy, silly. Like you are taken care of, and so yeah, the biggest thing I think is just be obedient. Take the step and do it, even if it feels like you are made to look foolish. It feels embarrassing. It feels whatever. God's not going to leave you in that place. He's not going to mess up his perfect track record for you. He's
Mhm.
not going to make a fool of you, make a mockery of you. That's not the heart of our God. And so
Yeah.
anybody that is in a place where you're being met with, what do I do? I feel like God is calling me to do this. I know I need to be obedient, but I'm terrified. Just do it. Just do it. Just do it. And I promise you that it will be well worth it. Well worth it. 1000%.
Wow. My final question for you is,
Yeah.
how do you hold on to the promise?
Oh, of course, you saved like the biggest one for last.
I've loved this conversation, so I'm just like, let's get
Uh,
the big things coming through.
Honestly, Oh man, there are so many things. I have like a list of promises, right, that I have been holding on to really for the last 7 years. And I wish that I had like a perfect answer to that question of how you
Mhm.
hold on. Because honestly, and this may sound crazy, bear with me, and anyone listening, please listen all the way through. But it's almost like you hold on by letting go. You know, you
Mhm.
hold on
I love
by
that.
letting go. You have to get to a point where you are, it's like, it's like a person gives you their child to watch, you know, and you have the child for so long, you're watching over the child. Eventually, you have to give that child back, right?
Mhm.
And because it's not there's ways I think in which the Lord wants for us to steward the promise in different seasons of our lives, right? I am kind of coming out of a season where I was actively fasting, actively praying, actively like hitting the pavement regarding these things. And now I've had to, instead of holding it so tightly with a closed fist, I've had to now hold it now with like this open fist. It's
Mhm.
still my promise. It's still something that God is going to do, but the method in which I'm going after it and holding on to it just looks
Mhm.
different, right? And so being flexible with that. How do you hold on? How do you keep your faith? You have to be flexible, right? Okay, I'm holding on in this season. I'm doing these things that the Lord has called me to do. Now I'm open-fisted and just kind of holding it loosely and recognizing like God is going to do whatever he wants to do at whatever time. And again, recognizing the ebbs and the flows that come with walking this thing out. You know,
Mhm.
it's a very it's hard doesn't just seem to do it justice like
Mhm.
when you talk about holding on to a promise, because the
Yeah.
truth is, I was just telling someone else this, it's painful. It is lit for me personally. I have experienced literal pain and
Mhm.
heartache and sorrow from holding on and having hope. I've had
Yeah.
to get to the point recently, let's be honest, I've had to get to the point recently where I'm like, God, I just don't know how much longer. Like,
Mhm.
I mean, for some of the stuff, like I said, it's been 7 years, 7 years of holding on and believing God for things. And I'm just like, oh, please. Like, I
Mhm.
need reprieve. I need water. I need food. Like, give me something. Give me manna for today. And just recognizing again, like, He sees me, you know, He
Mhm.
sees me, He hears me. And that's the other thing, too, when it comes to holding on to a promise. Um, I think we can become so convoluted, right? And so brought down with our literal circumstances in front of us and the
Yeah.
fact that we just don't have it, that we recognize again, we are dealing with a Lord that is sovereign and that is Lord, right? A God that is sovereign and is Lord and that is literally in control of the whole operation. And so again, I said this earlier, but just recognizing that he is in control and at any given moment he could move for you, you know? I think the other thing too, when it comes to holding on to a promise, is getting people around you that believe with you, right? That can hold up your hands. Because I have recognized, and again, being fully honest, there have been people on my journey that do not have the same level of faith that I do. And I want to flesh that out a little bit. They don't necessarily have the same level of faith that I do, and they are talking against the promise, right? They're speaking against it. Those two are two different things, because you may have, as a person with the gift of faith, I believe for the crazy, right? Like the crazy, call me whatever. Like it is, I believe for the absolute impossible. It is totally possible with God. So there are some people that don't necessarily have that level of faith, but they can still believe and walk with you and not speak against what God said. There's other people though that not only do they not have that same level of faith, but they're actively speaking against what God said for you. Those people you cannot associate with, unfortunately, in this time. You know, it's just that is going to weigh you down, right? Weigh you down and make it so much harder for you to carry that thing that God has given you. And so get people that can hold your hands up, right? When it comes to carrying what God said, we see that in scripture with Moses, her, and who's the other person on the other end with
Is
her?
this Moses and
Who was on the other side? Why am I forgetting that? Wasn't it Moses and it was Moses who was whatever. There were two
okay,
people obviously like holding up Moses' hands obviously during that. Aaron, thank you. I was
Aaron?
like, wait. I'm like, what in the world? Okay, so yeah, two people obviously holding him up at that time. But we see like that was
Aaron.
necessary. Yeah,
Yeah.
Aaron.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So yeah, like those two people that God designed to hold Moses' arms up during that time, we need those same people, right? We need those
Yeah.
same people that are going to walk with us. And I think that that has been single-handedly one of the most precious gifts that the Lord has given me during this time of waiting and believing is
Hmm.
having people that at every juncture of the journey I can lean on and just flat
Yeah.
out say, y'all, I'm having trouble believing. I don't know how God is going to do this. I don't even know if he wants to do this anymore. I don't know. I don't know. And them literally reminding me, Demisha, on this day, God said this. You
Hmm.
cannot forget that. Like those type of people, I'm getting emotional. Those types of people are gifts from the Lord. And
Yeah.
even in that, I'm even for myself, I'm recognizing like God doesn't give you those people for no reason. He's giving you that so they can hold you up so you can actually birth this thing that he wants you to do.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was long-winded, but hopefully that answers.
It definitely answered the question. Demisha, I absolutely enjoyed this conversation. This conversation is going to impact people who are on similar journeys, about to step into a journey, or even those who are about to exit that journey and step into the other side of the process. So I just want to say thank you for taking time out. Thank you for sharing your wisdom and just being vulnerable and transparent. It's definitely a breath of fresh air.